Wonder Woman issue 17, legacy number 817, Tom King writing with Bruno. No, it's not. I didn't change the name from last time
No.
because Bruno Redondo did the last issue, which is why it
Yep.
says Bruno Redondo.
This is SAMPERE.
Yeah, back to SAMPERE of the Daniel variety.
Yes.
So yeah, cool. So yeah, much like the last couple issues, Wonder Woman's on her own with the kid, and doing her own kind of sentimental thing. Whereas it's the Wonder Girls, and this is the beauty of this part of this run, is this arc with having Wonder Woman saying, "No, my daughter's more important than going and being Wonder Woman right now." It's really given like a lot of great stuff to the other character. Like the Wonder Girls get a lot of shine, both in this issue, also the issue where they were showing up and like ruining all the money that the Sovereign had. Like they've had some good, and then obviously that first issue back in like issue 4, 5, 6, whatever that was. Yep. Where like Diana told them all to back off, and then they all said, "F you, Diana, we're helping you."
Yeah,
like that was a great issue
and that was going against the Sovereign recruiting the villains.
Yes,
too.
yeah.
So
which you know what? Do you know how many comic book runs where like I would struggle to reference an issue that happened over a year ago? Because that's most of them, but I can remember that issue very vividly. So.
And it's a well-told story.
Yeah,
right.
So
that's because Tom King really writes these guideposts throughout where you can go back and remember that very distinctly. So credit to him.
Yeah, the issues feel very distinct. So yeah, so the main story of this is that the Sovereign has hightailed it to hang out with the team he put together of all the villains that hate Wonder Woman. And he's hiding there in his like original family home, this rich mansion somewhere in the
up the Potomac River. So it's up the river in the interior of the DC area.
Okay. I do know Potomac River is in Washington or around Washington because that's where Holly's plane is going to crash in Die Hard 2 if John McClane doesn't stop the bad guys.
There you go.
That's the only reason why I know that's near Washington or in Washington. Anyway, so this is basically the Wonder Girls assaulting this house, and they do it one by one to start with, where you get a page of like Giganta walking down a hall, and Donna's like hiding behind a pillar with her lasso, and she's ready to go. And honestly, right, there's a few crowd pleasing moments in this. But Donna putting the lasso around her neck, leaning into her ear and saying, "Grow, bitch." It's such a funny moment.
It's so good. Because then you remember that it's the lasso of persuasion.
Yes.
Yeah, so then
she wants her to ruin the house. Like that's like she wants her to demolish that, and she does. The next page is it's the title page of the book. It's a big 2-page spread of Giganta just bursting through this mansion. And Donna is like dangling from her neck with a lasso.
It's so good.
Yeah. It's just a big epic moment. It's this like very strategic, but just the idea. Obviously, it's censored because they always censor these words.
And that's another thing that King does very smartly is that he censors words, and so it makes them stand out more, right? Because if he just wrote that in there as normal, it doesn't. We're just like okay, but the fact that it is censored, you can really focus on it a bit more.
I mean, it depends on the context, maybe, but I think bitch would normally be censored. I don't think that's...
No?
Yeah,
you think... I think maybe it's one of those ones that depends on the usage of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because they always obviously censor shit or, whatever, F-bombs, so on. Or in the case of this issue later on, the word whore. Which is the other one that made me laugh because the word filthy comes before it. So, I mean, there is context where you'd say something after filthy that's different, but I think in the way it's said, I'm like, no, the last word she said there was whore. Like, there's no other thing she could have said. So that's like Donna's introduction. Then it's a Swan in the rubble after this has happened. Gets hit with one of Yara's... Bolas, thank you. And yeah, so that's her and Yara's got a cool introduction here as well because she's like, hey, I have to I don't want you to pick this, but Deanna will be very upset if I don't give you the option of a peaceful surrender. And so says, hey, so this is what I'm trying to do. And that's when Swan's like, get her name out of your mouth, you filthy whore, which made me laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like, it could have been worse too. It is 4 letters, and I know they don't correspond, But she could have dropped a C-bomb on her too.
Whoa, that's a lot harsher than I think they maybe were intending.
Silver Swan does have a very, she's very intense.
I mean, look, if you want to read it that way, you can. I won't take it from you. I think it's fun to me because obviously Silver Swan has this like, weird jealousy connection to Diana. So this idea of like you can't say her name, even though Diana literally lets her use the name Wonder Girl. So clearly she's passed the baton on a lot more than you.
Swan is a bit of a lot of things, but most of all might be deluded.
She stands Wonder Woman.
Yes, that's correct.
That's what she
is. Silver Swan, Stan, it's the same thing.
Yes, there you go. So she tackle, and Yara's got the funny follow up to that, which is like, so just to confirm, that's a no on the gentle, So yeah, I got a good chuckle out of that. It keeps going back to Diana in between these pages, and then you get to Angleman, who Cassie punches through the wall, and comes sauntering in.
It was like it was kind of unfair to punch through the wall because you couldn't see it coming, and there's pieces of the wall there, and this was kind of unfair of me. So just her kind of her talk there also was making me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all very funny, but obviously all these like scenes kind of end with the mid fight. I mean, Cassie, I think more than the other two, seems like she's in trouble because Angleman like traps her in like a time warp, but he's set square
with his magic triangle. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm calling it a set square because that's what it looks like. It looks like when you're in school and you're doing engineering drawings, it looks like a set square.
That's it is an engineer square.
Yeah. Anyone who's never used one is like, why are you calling it a square? It's a triangle. It's like, they're called set. I know it's a triangle, but they're called set squares.
It's because you have to make angles with them. Hence Angle Man.
Exactly. So now, if you'd asked me before I read this, like, can I tell you what his weapon does? I couldn't have told you a damn thing. But that's fun. We get to learn these things together. It's nice. So Grail helps the Sovereign into a secret passageway, where he skedaddles, and basically because as with all the issues, Sovereign's narrating, and he basically gets to the point here where he's like, hey, like our team should have won this fight, right? They've all but bested Wonder Woman by themselves at one point or another. They should have won these fights with the Wonder Girls. And the ultimate kind of like resolution to it is that when they're all kind of in trouble in their own fights with these various villains, is that it ends up being that they kind of like swap and like help each other out to win their separate fights, which is really fun. Where Donna jumps off the lasso she's dangling from Giganta and like falls into the room where Angleman is and crushes him, breaking the angle spell on Cassie. Yara throws one of the blades that she was almost stabbed with by Swan over to wherever.
Yeah, so she's on the ground, and because she's got some distance between her and Swan, but Swan uses her wings.
Yes.
And she's getting towards her neck, and it's going through Yara's hands, right? She's trying to stop the blades, but she's getting cut up, and it seems dire, but she's able to break that off through her bleeding hands, and then throws it in a general direction.
Yeah, and then Cassie takes the angle, the set square, and throws it at Giganta's ankle, which makes her, fall in pain. So it ends up being this thing where they all and then she throws the set square over to Yara, who uses it on the Swan. So they've won. They take out all the bad guys that are fighting them. Dr. Psycho's just knocked out from the rubble, so
which I love that they kind of in the narration from the Sovereign was like, well, he was no use anyways. Kind of like he doesn't even like Dr. Psycho.
He also says something like, oh, because of my superior bloodline and genes, he's weaker than me, so he's passed out. So we just left him there. So, and then the big reveal at the end of the main part of the story is that this secret tunnel went for miles, and he is sitting in the Oval Office in the White House as the last sanctuary he can retreat to, and this is where Wonder Woman will have to come for him. And I'm like... And I think the implication there is that's the president who's had to stand up and give him his chair that's standing next to him, which is kind of a funny idea.
Can I just say, after the week that we've had here in the States, this ending hit a bit differently.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I know that when this was written, there's been time set, whatever, but Tom King really has that knack.
Obviously he wrote this at least like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah,
probably more.
But just the timing. And as things are falling apart,
I felt the same way. And Justice Unlimited does like a forest fire, and I went, oh, I mean, not that there's not been some of the every year for a while now, but specifically this past couple of weeks, that's been a particularly big thing. So
So the president standing and letting somebody else take charge of things, again, very prescient. Someone with, a storied history and a past and an untold fortune.
I'm sure the sovereign's about to unban TikTok right now, and he's taking the chair. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's going to go after Greenland.
Mm-hmm. God damn, that's not even funny to joke about anymore. Anyways, on the Diana story on here, I thought was also a bit, sentimental in a good way, because you see her taking her daughter through the island, and you see her pulling this gigantic piece of rock up a hill.
All while telling her the story of how she met Steve, and saying he crashed on the island, and I saved him from the wreckage, and he was injured, and so on and so on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as we see that, she wasn't just trained in the arts of combat, but in also other forms of art, like kind of these social aspects, just archery, astronomy, fencing, wrestling, gymnastics, philosophy. So there's a mental, skill in addition to all the physical skills she learned, and including sculpting. And we see that, we saw how she formed her daughter from the sand, and, the piece of Steve's soul into her, and that's where the baby comes from. But now we see her forming a memory of Steve in this marble. And we see that sculpting was one of the skills that she had learned on the island as well.
Yeah,
and it's just this nice little balance of for Lizzie.
Yeah, not to take anything away from it, but I basically called what she was doing with the rock very quickly. I'm like, she's building a Steve, like she's making a Steve statue, like that. Like I got it pretty early. But that's fine, because I don't think it's meant to be like a big whoa. That's what she was doing this whole time. Like I think it's meant to be something you're getting, especially since she's talking about him constantly the entire time she's doing
there's
it.
That, and she's talking to Lizzie about Steve and the legacy of him and about their past, but then also this whole issue is about the Wonder Girls and what they've become, because of Diana and without Diana, right? They're carrying on her mission while she's taking care of, of her child on the island. And it's just this really nice thing of, this is who's coming next, and this is the life that we're leading, that with the right kind of care and training to the people, that are coming up behind you, they're capable of great things. And it's driven home here by her creating this memorial of Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously the art throughout is fantastic. I'm looking at that final page right now, and just again the sort of heavy inks and the shadows of the face of the Sovereign just make him look so sinister and menacing, like a petulant child who still wants to somehow win. We mentioned the big 2-page spread where Giganta gets big and all that stuff, and all of it looks great. And the moments that are funny, the moments where Yara's doing the fake gesture of hey, shall we do this peacefully, or Donna's moment of grow bitch, they're all helped, but the expressions, they're all helped with the performances of the characters in the panel. So
well, and the body language too, like the way that Cassie walks through the wall, it's almost kind of awkward.
Oh yeah. Yeah, versus the sort of swaggery look that Yara has when she's standing there. And whereas Donna's more Donna's more serious. Like she's the Dick Grayson. Well, not even Dick Grayson. She's the I don't know. Compare it to whatever you want, but
just the body language between the three, it's all there. And then even the distorted panel of Cassie is super, super, super. It's almost Cronenbergian, right? Like there's some body horror elements going on here.
It's a bit swirly, I guess, is how I put it.
So But yeah, that's just across the board, Sampere's art. The other page I want to spotlight too is when we see that they're all having trouble, right? You have Donna almost comically swinging from the Giganta, and then the blade from Swan cutting Yara's neck, and then it looks like Cassie's completely helpless in that warp thing, and the way that they're all just it ramps up to then the switch where now they're essentially going to switch enemies, and that's how they're going to win. Is their teamwork is really well handled by Sampere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's another really great issue in this run, in this sort of triple part arc that we've had, because we know this sort of overall story is ending with this arc. Now, that's not everything, because we still have the Amazon who murdered people. We still have all that stuff. But this kind of initial Sovereign story is wrapping up with this issue, or with this arc, I should say. So no, all right. What are you giving Wonder Woman?
Stand back, because this is a 9.5.
Whoa, I don't think I'm going quite that high. I just purely because structurally it's solid, right? But it's almost the exact same structure as the one where they're gonna have to raise money. So it just felt a little bit less special from a inventiveness to me compared to that. But that said, it's still a 9 out of 10. It's still excellent stuff.